Hello, and welcome to a new series where we're reading Naruto through a queer lens. So, to help us out, we have Naruto Uzumaki. I don't have a Sasuke one. So basically, I am aware that, Naruto is known to have some interesting subtext between Sasuke and Naruto, and I'm going to be reading through the entire series through that lens. I have read Naruto once before, a couple of years ago. I don't remember it super well, and I don't remember picking up on anything, but have historically been pretty bad at recognizing romantic stuff. Like, as a kid, I was really bad at noticing it in general, regardless of, like, sort of queerness or not. But, considering that I am writing something inspired by basically shonen that's, like, has that sort of, like, you guys seem like more than rivals, I feel like that it only makes sense to start with the OG. So this series will basically be each episode is going to cover a different volume just so I have the space to go in depth on my thoughts. And I'm going to be going through, like, I'll read a chapter and then we will debrief, like, any sort of subtext I feel between the two and, like, just giving general thoughts. I have volumes 1 and 2 so far, but I will be getting all of them eventually. We've got volume 1. I know I have read this a couple of times, but I don't remember it too well. I have a feeling that chapter 1 also won't have anything between the two of them. I have a feeling that Sasuke gets introduced after the first chapter, which is kind of common for, like, you get to get more characters later on. Some series will have, like, sort of rival character in the first chapter, depending on, like, I guess, what the status quo is. Like, so something like My Hero Academia, Bakugo is part of the status quo. Seraph of the End also has the two characters know each other already. Try to think, like, maybe I could be wrong. I guess we're about to find out. Okay, so the answer to does chapter 1 feature anything Sasuke Naruto related is So there's basically, okay, Sasuke is not a character in this, but I did notice there's, like, one panel right here where he's just tiny in the background, but that doesn't count. Like, he's just a background indicator. So, like, I mean, he was invented at this point, which makes sense, but also the chapters, like, sort of artwork features him, Sakura, and Kakashi, which makes me wonder if this was added in retroactively for the volume, because this chapter doesn't feature those characters, and if I was to draw an illustration for specifically that chapter, I would probably have Naruto with, I just read it and I can't remember the dude's name. I'm really bad at character names. But, like, basically, like, the chapter's about sort of to meet Naruto as a character. The chapter's also named after him. Kind of like how My Hero Academia has, I think the first chapter's called, like, Izuku Midoriya Origins. I should know the guy's name. I'm referring to, like, the guy with, like, the ponytail and stuff. Like, I don't know, I would draw, like, a heartwarming illustration with those two, maybe. Like, it just seems like a weird thing to have the illustration. I mean, the other characters aren't super important and featured in it, but, like, if anyone knows more about Naruto, was this illustration released with this chapter, or did they add it in for, like, the volume, is my question. Because often, you know, the artworks were part of it, but yeah, it does seem weird. I can't think of any other series off the top of my head that features characters in the, like, first chapter's artwork that then aren't in said first chapter. Like, I don't even think Sakura had an appearance, and Kakashi definitely didn't. Like, and Sasuke is, like, the teeniest tiny drawing. So yeah, that chapter 1 doesn't really have much to do with that thing, but honestly, it was a really good first chapter. I kind of forgot how, like, sort of heartfelt this first chapter was, just especially considering that in my head, I associate this early Naruto with, like, stupid poop jokes. Like, it was just quite, yeah, heartfelt, which I just didn't expect. I also probably should mention the ninja centerfold thing, like, because I do notice that often in these discussions where people try and have a queer lens for two characters, like, in these sort of shonen series, they usually try and argue well one of the characters is straight, often coming from, like, one side. They pretend bisexual people don't exist. And I guess Naruto, you know, having one of the first things we learn about him is he's been putting an effort to have ninja centerfold, which is basically just turning himself into a naked girl version of himself. For some reason, that's just a thing that he does. So yeah, I guess that is something worth mentioning because I do know that that is a rebuttal people have where it's like, well, this character in part of your ship likes this girl, and it's like, people can like both genders. So I'm not seeing that as an argument against, because also, bisexual people do exist. People can like both, and like there's plenty of other sort of potential reasons that you could read into that. But I thought that it's worth mentioning just because this chapter doesn't have a lot else, and I feel like that is something that I've seen in discussions when people try and approach shonen. Like I've watched videos about like Sora and Riku, and often the arguments like, well, like Sora likes Kairi, so he can't like guys. So yeah, that's just something that I thought was worth mentioning. So yeah, this is an Uzumaki approved chapter. That was actually a good first chapter. I feel like it was, yeah, just okay, maybe Naruto is better than I remember it being. Like, I know I've read it and I enjoyed it, but it wasn't something I super clicked with. But I'm like, oh no, this is actually kind of good. I may have just realized I'm stupid. So if I read the contents page, I would know exactly when Sasuke gets introduced, because I just read chapter 2 and was like, oh, I forgot that Sasuke isn't introduced yet. Chapter 3 is called Enter Sasuke. So obviously that's when it is. So yeah, chapter 2, I kind of completely forgot about it. It feels like sort of almost like a second, like, just little random subplot. It's basically like Naruto's talking to this random kid who's like the son of the Hokage, and they kind of bond and stuff. But also, I'm slightly concerned about these adults falling for his ninja centerfold attack. Like, they know this is a 12-year-old disguising himself and stuff. I don't know, it just feels weird. Like, I'm definitely overthinking this, but guys, I think the line that triggered it was when like the wise Hokage was like, like he combined the doppelgangers with all these like this like pretty lady thingy. Even I would have fallen for that, and I'm like, this is a child. Like, I don't know, maybe that would be you like, especially if you see Naruto transform, which tends to be how he does it. Like, is the implication, I don't know, maybe I don't like women, so maybe like that, so maybe I just don't get it. Maybe I just don't get attraction and stuff. Is that just not a normal response to seeing a naked lady going, wah? Yeah, I'm definitely overthinking this, but I'm just gonna accept that maybe I just don't get it. And I kind of hope that this joke does die off. Like, it's already 2 chapters, and because it's just not my kind of humor, I'm like, can we do something else? Like, it feels like we've used the same sort of gag of being like, it's a girl. Like, I mean, maybe that works better for like teenage boys. Like, maybe I guess I'm not the target audience for that kind of humor. But yeah. But I mean, the next chapter is called Enter Sasuke, so we're gonna get to some stuff. This chapter will probably be important. I was right. That chapter had a lot. Actually, for like a single chapter, it felt like that it was pretty effective at characterizing, and like you learn a fair bit about like the characters and their dynamic. Like, it was pretty efficient storytelling. But Sasuke and Naruto kiss. Like, I know it's played as a gag, and it does sort of fit into, I feel like, this sort of like crude humor style that it's had so far, but still, they kiss. Like, considering that in a lot of shonen, they barely even let the main guy and the main girl kiss by the end of the series. The fact that like they just casually do that, I don't know if it was because this is a bit older than a lot of stuff that I have read, so potentially maybe this was more standard at the time it came out, but I still feel like that's just like, is this that's not typical from my experience, having read a fair bit of stuff from Shonen Jump. Like My Hero Academia gets compared to Naruto a lot, which makes sense. And I keep feeling like Dracula needs to move your feet in the way. But like, I'm pretty sure Ochako and like Deku never get like to kiss, and like they definitely weren't kissing in chapter 3. Like, yeah, I feel like that's kind of wild that they actually just go there. Like, and there's also just some, yeah, this chapter's quite interesting. And characterized, I really appreciate how quickly you kind of get a sense of who they are. So, Sasuke's kind of like the angsty one. And I do like their reasoning as to why they end up in the same team. That like Sasuke's top of the class, so they're pairing it up with Naruto. I definitely experienced this at school. Because I was like the good kid, they would often pair troublesome students and sit them around me. Less so as I got, actually I still kind of had it as I got a bit older, because like I got glasses around when I was in year 6. So before that, it was more common for me to be paired because they could I could sit anywhere, but like as my vision got worse, I did need to sit in the front of the class, but like often, you would put the naughty kids at the front anyway. I liked sitting at the front anyway though. So yeah, they kiss. Um I also like that like Sasuke just like he lets his scout down to have lunch. So yeah, basically like I guess the plot is, they're putting the team and stuff, and I also just find it funny the way that Naruto just gets in Sasuke's face. It's like, I don't get why everyone likes this guy. Let me get a really good look at this guy. Like, yeah, like he gets up, he stands on the desk and gets up on the face, and like the whole gag of like the kisses, they get pushed over, and I like part of the joke is like, it's funny, these two boys kiss. Like, I get why it's supposed to be funny, but also it like, yeah, I just most series would not go there. Like, and I feel like that's a pretty detailed kiss shot as well. And yeah, then they both just dying inside. And then I just find it funny how like Sakura just is angry at Naruto for it. And yeah, so then basically Naruto tricks Sasuke, like gets the one up on him whilst he's eating food, puts him away, and then uses the clone jutsu to look like Sasuke. Which this seems to be the main jutsu that's been used so far. Like, I know there are other abilities that come up throughout the series, but I do like that we are starting and using like, we've got basically like one main, we've got two main abilities that have been sort of established so far. The ability to change your appearance and the ability to duplicate yourself. And I do like that, they're getting sort of utilized a fair bit. That is quite, that is good. We're going wide and considering implications of existing powers before we're adding things. I'm assuming this gets thrown out the window the further we get into it. I know what shonen power scaling's like, but you just get more and more insane. But yeah, basically, I guess like the plan is, Naruto's gonna disguise as Sasuke because it's funny and so, and then he kind of asks Sakura questions about how she feels about Naruto. I guess because Naruto can't just ask people directly, so he's trying to get a sense of how Sakura feels about him, because it is indicated that, like, Naruto likes Sakura, Sakura likes Sasuke, and Sasuke and Naruto hate each other. So I guess you kind of have, like, a triangle dynamic between them. And also something that I do need to mention again is, so, like, we got a panel where, like, Naruto as Sasuke is about to kiss Sakura. Well, Sakura's about to kiss him, and it's like, so I'm starting to, it's like I'm finally starting to understand what I love about Sakura, and I'm like, what do you said that you love about Sakura? Like, is it just because she's pretty? That panel confused me because I'm like, am I missing something? What is it supposed to be that he likes about Sakura? Like, yeah, I'm confused, especially because like just the page before Sakura's kind of being nasty about Naruto. And it's just like, and then she's just like, I'm desperate. Like, is that what Naruto likes? I'm confused. If someone's more familiar and just gets it, I feel like I'm missing something. I feel like this should be obvious. But like, yeah. And then funny poo humor stuff we get, Naruto is about to kiss Sakura, but then he has to go, oh no, he gets to kiss Sasuke, but he doesn't get to kiss Sakura. That's a lot of kissing involved in one chapter. I'm like, this is all one chapter. And then, yeah, then Sasuke escapes and basically meets up with Sakura. And Sakura, Sasuke's unaware that they've just had a conversation and stuff. And then, like, Sakura's like, why are you talking about Naruto? Because remember, Naruto just talked about Naruto. And then, yeah, like, she's all like, oh, you're gonna kiss. And yeah, because like, basically Sasuke goes up to Sakura, is like, recess is over, where's Naruto? Which makes sense. Like, Naruto did just kind of lock him in a room and tie him up. I feel like I would also be going after someone if they did that to me. I feel like that's a vengeance thing. Like, part of me wants to go, you're asking about Naruto, but no, I feel like the more logical thing is that just it's like, yeah, dude just locked you up. You're gonna try and get your vengeance. And then yeah, like Sakura basically is like, oh, Naruto sucks because he's an orphan. And I'm like, does she not know that Sasuke is an orphan? Like, is this supposed to also tell us that Sakura's attraction to Sasuke is rather like superficial? Because this feels like this should be common knowledge about like, because I know enough about Naruto, like, and remember that like Sasuke's entire clan is dead. So like, how does she not know that Sasuke's also an orphan? And also like, clearly they're not close or anything. Like, this feels like something she should be aware of. Like, is she supposed? Are we supposed to just think that she's saying it anyway, or that she's like oblivious and stuff? Because she doesn't seem to like be clicking about, you know, what like how she's saying would be perceived badly. And I just feel like that this is something that you should, especially because she's trying to like, you know, she's like Sasuke. She wants Sasuke to like her. Why would you say this to someone? Like, I'm assuming that she's either unaware or just forgotten somehow. That I feel like no, I feel like that she was aware of Sasuke not having parents. She would remember this like yeah. So I'm guessing that that's possibly part of it, and yeah. And then basically they reunite and stuff, and then we get a bit of lead up for the next chapter. Like, so basically Sakura's like, oh, maybe I should be a bit nicer. And yeah, you should. You probably shouldn't be like complaining about like, oh, Naruto's such an annoyance, bothersome kid because he's an orphan to another orphan. Like, especially like that's just a mean thing to say to someone who's, you know, like Sasuke's probably got a fair bit of trauma from having all of his family slaughtered. But also just like, that's just bad strategy if your goal is to get him to like you. And then we've got like a couple of panels leading up, like showing Kakashi and indicating that, you know, leading up to like the next chapter. Because I mean that was a fair bit of stuff in a chapter. Like, I feel like that I'm trying. No, I think they are about like 20 pages. So I guess Naruto is just good at getting lots of information in a chapter. Or maybe I'm just forgetting how much stuff chapters can actually get through. Because, like, you do get some things, like, especially further on in series, like, during some war arcs. Although, I guess, also, action does tend to take a fair bit of space, because, you know, you need pretty big panels. So, yeah, maybe... I do know that the pacing does get slower, though, because, like, the Chunin exams, I remember took, like, 100 chapters. So, yeah. Now we're up to chapter 4, which... I feel like the rest of these chapters are gonna have Sasuke and Naruto in them, so there's gonna be stuff to talk about. Okay, so before I comment on the stuff from this chapter that is actually relevant, I do want to say that Naruto, like, so far is really good at getting you to want to read the next chapter. Like, it's really good at, like, having each chapter fulfilling, like, that you've gotten enough stuff from it, but then, like, ending in a place so that you're like, I need to read more, like, having to stop to voice my thoughts. I'm like, no, I just want to keep reading. So yeah, basically, like, this chapter is introducing Kakashi. We also get a bit more development of the gang. I also feel like that Sakura's inner Sakura is a pretty good way so that she can have a bit more nuance and characterization, but I do also have to mention that I am starting to notice some not great trends in how, and like, it just comes across like the way that it... Okay, so I know that Sakura is generally treated poorly, and that's not the issue here so far. I feel like that Sakura is getting plenty of attention, like, you know, we're 4 chapters in. But I have noticed a couple of things where the text will say some not great things, implication-wise, to do with women, and, like, part of me feels like I'm overthinking this and being too critical, but it also doesn't help that they're coming from authority figures. So I feel like that because the way these messages are being presented and the characters voicing them, like, they're presented as if they are facts, and I feel like that, I don't know, it's encouraging to internalize some pretty bad stuff. Look, I'm not saying I'm gonna, like, drop Naruto and, like, that, you know, it's, oh, bad, like, it's a product of its time. I don't know enough about the creator to assume anything about them, but just, there's just some weird trends, especially because, like, I have noticed this in other stuff, like Bakuman, I think it's, like, chapter 2 also has it, where just, like, they have a character who's supposed to be a genius, goes on this rant about how, like, women should, like, be nice, and you're actually smarter if you're not smart, because then you won't get a husband or something. It's stupid. But yeah, there's just been a couple of things here and there that I'm like, oh, in terms of, like, okay, so far a lot of the interactions between the characters is them as a trio. There's not a lot sort of about, like, Naruto and Sasuke specifically. I do find it funny that, like, okay, so they kind of have this thing where, like, Kakashi's like, you know, introduce yourselves, tell me about, like, your likes and dislikes, and Naruto's just like, I like ramen. And Kakashi's like, okay, bro's just thinking about ramen. And I mean, we do know that, we know that's the next day. I was about to say something about the breakfast thing, but no, that happens after this. And then, like, Sasuke's all angsty, being like, there's not much that I do like, so there's no point mentioning what I hate, and there's someone I've sworn to kill. And Naruto's just like, I hope it's not me. Like, I don't know how seriously Naruto is taking Sasuke's thing, but I like how his instant thought is just like, oh my gosh, I hope it's not me. And then, like, Sakura's like, oh, he's so cool. I hope Sakura is not taking this seriously. That is not something to be, like, blushing over, Sakura. That is a red flag. And then, yeah, okay, this sort of goes into the scene where, like, it's like Sakura's just like, oh, I like a boy and boys and ooh, I'm a girl, so I'm just in love and stuff. And then, like, Kakashi basically just like, yes, women. And I'm like, no, please no. And then, like, they get mentioned about, like, they're gonna do an exercise and stuff. So yeah, not a lot specifically so far of Naruto and Sasuke's dynamic outside of the trio, which makes sense. We are establishing them as a group. So, you know, that is completely fair. And yeah, there's also just not, like, it's also kind of funny. I don't feel like that there's a lot of romantic tension in general. Like, even though there's been a fair bit of mention of romance, just because, you know, Sakura's whole thing is having a crush on Sasuke. And then, like, I guess it's implied that Naruto likes Sakura because she's hot. Honestly, that's the extent of why these people are attracted to each other. It's just like, yeah, she's like the prettiest and he's the prettiest. And yeah, I also do find it funny that it's implied that Sasuke also didn't eat food and that they're all hungies. So yeah, and then, like, Naruto goes to attack and stuff. I feel like that both that we're still in a very much just establishing who these characters are. So honestly, haven't gotten a lot of subtext. I'm going to guess that it gets more so later. Like, there are 72 volumes. I wasn't expecting it to get super gay straight away. But honestly, it's pretty good so far. Like, I know I've read this before, but I'm like, this is actually pretty neat. Okay, so the pacing has kind of, okay, it's weird, because it feels like I'm getting, like, less specific sort of information, but, like, it's also, like, action focused. So it's not that, like, I don't know, maybe pacing's the wrong term for it. Like, because stuff happens, but, you know, it's a lot of, like, wow, moving around, so it's less, I guess, less information specifically for what we need. So yeah, we've got, like, their little testy thing has started, and Kakashi's reading smut. Like, that is that, I mean, and again, it leans into this sort of, like, humor style that this has, which, again, is further expanded upon where Kakashi sexually assaults Naruto. Like, I know it's supposed to be funny, but it's just, I feel like that I'm just not the target market for the humor. Like, I like the plot side of things, but, like, the humor and some of the implications and stuff aren't really my thing. Like, I am aware that it's the same with something like Yu-Gi-Oh!, which I think came out around a similar time. Yu-Gi-Oh! Has some just, like, really weird stuff just played for. Anime as a whole has this. It's just not my thing. Like, but yeah, basically, like, it's like, haha, he uses a secret jutsu, which is just shoving his fingers up Naruto's butt. Like, what? Why? I'm sure that there was another way to be funny, but I'm not gonna judge too harshly. It's just not my thing, and it's not super relevant to the point, but I can't not mention it because it's like, why? There was also a scene, because I do remember seeing a post on Pinterest where someone was talking about, like, how, like, during the scene about, like, you know, Sasuke blushes when like Naruto does his attack, but like, and there is a scene where Sasuke's blushing, but he's blushing and so is Sakura because they're hungry. I don't know if that's a thing, but like that's meant to be sort of more the implication, like that we see them in the like there's like the gurgle sound effect and stuff. So I in good faith I can't count that as anything beyond them just being like this. But there is like something where we do see that there's a, you know, when the tides get turned and like Naruto uses his special jutsu, there is a like a panel where Sasuke seems to be kind of impressed, which is a big deal because from the little that we can tell from Sasuke's not someone that gets impressed much. He's like all aloof and things, but he's like, oh, and then he does a Brock. He explains what Naruto did. Like he's like, yes, he used the misdirection, and yeah, okay, and then that's that chapter, and then the next one's called Not Sasuke. So Sasuke gets mentioned a few times in chapters. Like I kind of find it funny that okay, so like there's one called named after Naruto, Konohama. Oh wait, no, that's the kid's name, I think. Actually, a lot of these have characters' names in the titles. I don't think that's super common. So yeah, that is interesting. And then there's a little anecdote about a plant. So yeah, the next chapter, I mean, yeah, these next two chapters, which there's 7 chapters in this volume, are gonna have Sasuke. Like, it was just those first two that didn't. And I imagine that Sasuke and Naruto are going to be in a fair few chapters just going forward until Sasuke runs off. Like, I don't imagine there's going to be many chapters in this first sort of part of Naruto that don't have Sasuke in them. Unless there's just arcs I'm completely forgetting about, which is entirely possible. Okay, so this chapter's, again, more sort of action-focused. Yeah, so I feel like these sort of, I guess, story arc as a whole is really good at establishing Kakashi's power level. Like, you just get the sense that he's so much smarter, and, like, it still also gives a sense of sort of the levels within, you know, the gang, but, like, this is a good way to establish sort of what, like, your power ceiling is. Of course, they're probably gonna mess with it, because, of course they are, but, like, you know, you get the sense that these guys are amateurs, they're out of the depth, and I feel like there's some other sort of shonen that have probably taken from footsteps that, like, more recently, that do go with a similar thing, where it's like, you give them an impossible, like, task, and, like, it gives a sense of, like, they're so out of their depths compared to, you know, the big, fancy, cool master guys, and it gives a good sense of, like, sort of, like, Sasuke is more competent than Naruto, but also is an arrogant, I think they're 12, I don't actually know how old the characters are at this point, like, you know, I feel like that it's important to sort of humble Sasuke, because so far he's been built up as, like, sort of edgy and stuff, and, like, so smart, and I feel like that it is important for them to, like, show that he's also an amateur, like, yeah. And especially because, like, this sort of the final page being, like, you know, save your boast until after you've actually succeeded. But yeah, I feel like that humbling him is an important thing to do here. And also Sakura falls for it, which, yeah. Not as much to sort of say in general, just because it's kind of as, like, part of an arc. Like, I feel like the chapters that are like that are going to be the hardest ones to sort of say much on. But yeah, we've got one more for the volume, and then I can, guess, talk about the volume as a whole. Okay. So that chapter has probably, like, the biggest cliffhanger of them all, which makes sense. Like, a volume cliffhanger needs to be bigger than chapter cliffhangers, and it does a pretty good job. Like, this idea, like, you guys will never be shinobi, you guys failed. And, you know, this is the first sort of thing we've had, like, build up across multiple chapters. Because, I mean, the exam itself sort of, like, I guess, started at chapter 4 was, like, sort of the prelude to it. And then, like, I guess chapter 5 would be where I'd say it actually properly starts. I mean, it's at the end of chapter 4, but yeah. You know, you've got 5, 6, 7. You've got, like, a couple of chapters of build up. So having it be like, you guys failed. This chapter was also interesting just because, like, we get a bit more of, like, Sasuke focus. Like, we get to see that he's super powerful, you know, he's got a cool ability, and, like, Naruto basically is planning to just steal the food for himself, which is kind of funny. I also kind of think that, like, I am curious to see Naruto's development, because he seems very much characterized right now as this, like, sort of typical, like, troubled kid. Like, I feel like this would be quite relatable for a kid around a similar sort of age. Like, I'm guessing, like, it's sort of 12. like a goofy, kind of not taking things too seriously. But I feel like this kind of personality has to change as he gets older. Like this very much feels like it's rooted in the character's age. Um, so I am, because like I know Boruto exists. I know that like Naruto, ages across the series. So I highly doubt he's gonna be acting like this the further we get into it. Um, but it is cool to see Sasuke do fighting and stuff, and like, we also have Kakashi, who is established to be super strong. So I feel like having Kakashi win so brutally is important to establish like that him being impressed by like what Sasuke is doing and being like, wow, I can't even read my book. Like, we needed to have that sense of Kakashi's skill level before like this to help add that weight to Sasuke's thing. Um, and yeah, like then we've got like Sakura being like, oh, we can do stuff, and then like I just find it funny that like Sasuke is too busy being angsty and being like, I need revenge, and then like the exam just ends and he's like, dang it, I should have been doing the exam instead of telling you backstory stuff. But yeah, overall I would say this volume is not really like that much of an implication between Sasuke and Naruto specifically. Like, they don't get to interact much as individuals. They're sort of part of a group. I mean, the kiss thing is kind of gay. But, like, apart from that, like, honestly, if you had just a slightly different gag, they kind of, yeah, definitely sort of more typical rivals at this point. Like, and I didn't expect there to be a lot of sort of chemistry and stuff yet, like, anyway. I mean, the kiss thing is kind of, like, I'm not gonna get past that, just because kisses just don't happen a lot in shonen, like, as a whole, from what I have read, which I know that there's plenty of stuff I haven't, and I haven't read a lot of stuff from around the same time, but, like, considering that it's, like, the only thing I can come up with, I'm not even sure if, like, in Full Metal Alchemist, there's like a kiss at the end. The only thing that comes to mind that I'm pretty sure that I've read that does is like Twin Star Exorcist, and it's literally a plot about like them getting married. Like, of course that's gonna have a kiss scene in between like the guy and the girl. But yeah, pretty good first volume as well. Apart from a few things that have probably just aged poorly. But I'd say that like it's a pretty good sort of first introduction. Makes me want to go read more. And yeah, I would say that there's indications like the characters seem pretty cool so far. I feel like that Sasuke would be my pick just because I kind of like the edgy characters. I don't know, he's reminding me of Riku. That's probably why. You know, you've got that sort of typical trio where you've got like your sort of more like plucky, goofy guy, you got the edgy rival guy, and then you've got the girl. Now, Sakura definitely still seems to be falling a little bit behind already at this point. That could just be me projecting because I do know that like this series is pretty controversial for that. I am curious to read more and see how like if Sakura is useless, because you do get people defending her. But it isn't being helped by some of the other stuff going around that's not even specifically about Sakura, but like just the series sort of views of women aren't great. Like, this doesn't surprise me that there's not the greatest representation of women just by some of the comments that characters have made so far. And also I do hope that it kind of wanes out of the humor, because it's just not really my thing. But I feel like it will, just because it won't have as much space and it'll probably get more serious anyway. And like I do think that it is there's a couple of other series that have similar things where they have more crude humor at the start. Like Yu-Gi-Oh has a bit of it. Different style. Like I know that Black Clover has in its first couple of chapters, there's a thing where like Asta goes to the toilet as well. I just remember it because it reminded me of, I was like, oh, that's similar to Naruto, because I know that Black Clover and My Hero Academia in particular, like, because they were the bigger sort of when I first started reading and watching stuff, and they were compared to Naruto a lot. Black Clover I haven't heard much about in ages. Like, I feel like it was sort of considered in a similar tier to My Hero Academia and then just completely disappeared. Like, I'm not sure if it's finished or not yet, but yeah, it was never as big as My Hero Academia in discussions, but it definitely feels like that it lost momentum. Yeah. But overall, good volume, not super gay yet. Despite having the kiss, I like, it feels like there's not a lot of chemistry that I'm like, yes. But I am expecting more as it goes along. Like, we've got I think there's 72 volumes of Naruto, so there's plenty of time, and I am expecting to find something, just given that I know enough background things where people have read into it. I'm going to guess that it possibly gets more noticeable as the trio expands further out from being a group, as they become more individuals and Sakura gets left behind. I feel like that's when we're probably going to get more stuff. But yeah, I'm enjoying Naruto. I'm excited to read more volumes, and honestly kind of just want to go straight to reading the next one, but I probably should take a second between them. I'm not going to release them back to back, like, immediately on the same day, but yeah, I want to go read more Naruto. I forgot how much I actually kind of like this series.